This will not work on Etsy. When I started selling on Etsy, I was adding products with no strategy. I was adding random listings in random niches and hoping that magically my shop would become successful and an overnight sensation. But at the same time, I was exhausted and overworked because I wasn't getting the results that I wanted. Now, you may not have even added a single Etsy listing, or maybe you've added 100 and maybe you're frustrated because you're not seeing any results. You're tired. Now for me, I had to go back to the drawing board and figure out why this wasn't working, why I wasn't getting the sales or success that I had wanted. But then I figured out that I needed to spend time studying and investing the time to learn the Etsy algorithm. I needed to study SEO. I needed to study other Etsy shops. Now notice I didn't say copy, I said study, because what sells well for one Etsy shop might not sell well for another one for multiple reasons. But I discovered that an easy way to make significant income on Etsy doesn't require having a trendy Etsy shop. Now you have to have a strategy, and that strategy has to be adding listings to Etsy for a specific customer and then refining those listings over time. You need to figure out how to market those listings and then rinse and repeat. At first, you need to focus on one specific customer and providing them with exactly what they want. Items that sell on Etsy have a very specific niche and have passionate customers. So let me illustrate. When you sell an item on Etsy and call it a women's t-shirt, the items you see showing up in Etsy search aren't simply because it was labeled as a women's shirt, but because the item is ranking for so many other keywords that then these keywords push it to the top of a very popular search like women's shirt, that those customers have probably purchased it so many times that it even shows up for such a broad search result. So you need to ask yourself, does the item have a clear idea of who the customer is? All right, so secret number one to having a successful Etsy shop is you need to master the Etsy algorithm. You simply must be able to show up in Etsy search for items you are selling. Now, do you have control over this all the time? No, absolutely not. Now, is Etsy changing all of the time? Yes, absolutely. But can you control the fact that you can make the best, most beautiful, most desirable product out there with the best possible choice of search terms, so that if and when customers do actually find your Etsy listing, that this item will hopefully be shown to more and more customers? And is there a passion? Is there a compelling reason for these customers to want to purchase this type of item again and again and again? Like, this is why trademarked items on Etsy do so well. What do I mean? Well, hear me out for just a second. It's because the customers are already passionate about the brand and the item literally sells itself. You literally don't even have to try to sell it. So if you can find those items, those designs, those ideas that aren't trademarked, so hopefully you can keep selling on Etsy successfully. But you need a clear and specific idea that is easier for you over the competition by making sure that you master the Etsy algorithm. Then once you're able to sell one item to one customer, make sure that you have multiple items that that same customer would be looking for to make sure that you are able to help that customer with any other needs that they might have. And this is simply because you have spent the time learning the Etsy algorithm, learning how it works, learning how your titles work, learning how your descriptions work, learning how your tags work, and because you have put in the time to help you grow, develop, and sustain a successful Etsy shop. Now, secret number two is making sure that you're still focusing on the right things within your shop, that you are focusing on refining your listings, whether that's your photos, your branding, your SEO, the amount of products you have available within each listing, So look, I want you to check out this quote by Nelson Mandela. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. So every day, are you spending more time learning? Are you spending more time educating yourself on how Etsy works? Are you spending more time committing to refining your listings? Are you committed to writing better item descriptions? Are you committed to taking better product photos? Are you actually committed to adding enough photos to your listing that your customer actually thinks you have a believable shop where they are willing to spend their hard-earned dollars? Because look, a lot of people start Etsy shops. There's nearly 8 million Etsy sellers, but how many of these sellers are actually getting from 0 to 100 sales? How many of these sellers are actually going from 0 to 1,000? Are you willing to put in the work to go from 0 to 100? Because the listings that you add now when you start your Etsy shop aren't going to be the same when you reach 1,000 sales. When you reach 10,000 sales, your shop and your listings will be completely different. So have you focused enough time making sure that your shop is ready to receive customers? Have you focused enough on having exceptional listings with exceptional photos? And if not, what are you going to do about it? Now, secret number 3 to selling on Etsy successfully is marketing. Are you willing to put in the time to learn how to market your items either on Etsy or off, or a combination of both? Who are you planning to market your items to? Is there even a market for your items? Or do you need to go back to step 1 and see if anyone is even searching for the item that you are trying to sell? Because if no one is searching for it, you probably are going to waste your time trying to sell something that isn't even needed. It is very hard to market an item for which there is simply no demand. Yes, absolutely, there are those listings that you might create today that you put in your back pocket that you're saving for the future that are probably going to be trending at some point. But at the same time, you need and want to get sales now. So if you've spent all that time learning about the Etsy algorithm and then going through all of the focused hard work on making sure that every listing in your shop is amazing, how are you then going to get the customers to your store? Are you simply going to have a million listings on Etsy sold at a very low price? Are you planning on using social media? Because then you need to spend the time and energy actually going through and working on it. Are you planning on getting your first sales and reviews from friends and family? Then you need to be prepared to ask those cold, hard questions and to make those calls. But no matter what, these are the strategies you're going to have to spend the time learning: the Etsy algorithm, Etsy search, focusing on refining your listings, and then also spending the time learning how to be a modern marketer. Now, at any given point with selling on Etsy, you're going to flip-flop between these 3 different secrets. But the biggest secret tip that I can offer you is making sure that you are actually committed, you are actually dedicated to putting in the work to add these listings, because in the very beginning, you don't even know what customers are looking for. So you need to add enough listings where the customers can give you feedback so that you can learn faster. The types of listings that I have in my shop now after 34,000 sales aren't anything at all like what I was first adding on Etsy, where I was adding incredibly broad and generic items that I would see other shops selling on Etsy. But what I didn't know, and what you can't know, is why that specific item is being sold by that shop. And it could be that that shop already has millions of existing customers that have purchased from them previously. It could also be that they are selling through social media, from Facebook or Instagram. And so what works for one shop may or may not work for you too. So if you want to make money selling on Etsy, start with a very small, specific niche and rank those items in Etsy search to the best of your ability, whether or not it actually gets shown by Etsy. And that needs to be your strategy to have the best listing with great marketing to help to get those items seen in Etsy search, even if Etsy doesn't want to show them. I wish you all the very best of luck in building your Etsy shop for today, tomorrow, and for well into the future. See you later, superstar.